Welcome to Ministry Mondays with Meg. I'm Meg. If you've been here before, welcome back. If you're new, we're so glad to have you. What's Ministry Mondays? Ministry Mondays, it's my show. It's where I get to talk to folks who serve in ministry in so many different ways and give them a place to talk about what they do, why they do it, and what brings them joy. And it is one of the many parts of the work I do that brings me joy. I know I say it often that I'm very excited about my guest, but I am. Um, because this is Margaret is how I got here, sort of. Um, we'll talk about more of that later, but let's talk about her first. So, Margaret helps clergy get less burdened by their ministry so that they can have more influence and less stress. And she's worked with leaders from over 20 denominations as a teacher for over 25 years. She's the author of Leaders Who Last. I have that one on my shelf. Um, and Money and Your Ministry. I have that one too, but I think it's still packed in a box somewhere because I just moved. Um, but I have it. And she's an American Baptist minister. She served at First Baptist, Gardner, Massachusetts for 13 years. Currently lives in Portland, Oregon. Keep it weird, Portland. Where she sings in two choirs. And she's got a new book coming out, which is what we're going to talk about. And it has the best title ever, Sustainable Ministry, How to Lead and When to Nap. I mean, come on. I've told some other people about the book, and they're like, that's a great title. It really is. So welcome to the show. I'm so glad to have you here. Margaret, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about who you are, what you do?
All right. Well, Meg covered the basics. I am an American Baptist minister. Have been a pastor. Now I work with pastors around the U.S. and Canada. And in my teaching and my coaching, I really focus on three things: get clear, stay connected, keep calm-ish, and get clear about who you are, what your call is, and yourself, and your strengths, and your vulnerabilities. To just have that deep self-knowledge. And then stay connected with the people that are important to what you're trying to accomplish. That includes your critics. As hard as that can be, it's important. And finally, keep calm-ish. Nobody's calm nowadays, but to be able to manage your anxiety and to know how to ground yourself and to recover when you get caught up in everything that's going on. And we just work on that over and over and over. And I do myself in my own life.
So as I kind of hinted at earlier, so I have been here at ABHMS for 6 years, and before I came here, I was serving as a pastor, and this was right before COVID started. I was in one of her roundtable groups, and I'll just say that for me, it was permission giving in those things that you do, and so it is one of the very important ways, like opening that door, giving myself permission to step out. Away from pastoring to do something else, to still know that I was called, and I believe that, yes, but allowing myself to do something different, and this is part of that different that I get to do, and I'm just so grateful for you and that ministry. So how did you, I guess, before we go to the book, like, how did you go from pastor to teacher to what you do now?
Well, as I was serving my congregation, I was really, I was feeling ready for something different, for a new kind of challenge, where there's a different congregation. And then I had this kind of entrepreneurial energy that bubbled up in that was surprising to me. So I took the church planter training. And then I had someone who was in one of the first programs I taught clergy leadership in. And she said, I don't think you're called to start a new church. I think you're called to start a new ministry to help clergy and churches be healthier. And I thought, wow. And that felt like the voice of God to me. And really, that was really the beginning of a new kind of what my very first business coach called your wider congregation. So I planted a different kind of congregation with leaders all over the place. That sense of call to that work that's been 25 years, and it's never left me.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, because that's the thing is like when you leave pulpit ministry, they're like, oh, you're leaving the ministry. No, I'm doing something different, and I love the way you frame that. It's a different congregation than and sure, this congregation might be shorter, but you never know when it comes back around. So
yeah, I will say that I'm doing I've been doing some the occasional retirement transition roundtable, and then my current roundtable has two people that I've worked with off and on for most of the time that I've been doing this work.
Okay, that's cool.
It's very, very cool, very exciting.
And are they, when you get retirees, is it true like that really clergy pastors never retire, they just find something different to do? I mean, is that part of what they're looking for in those round tables? Is okay, well, I'm retiring, but I still want to be active. How do I figure that out? Is that what they're
it depends. Some of them are pre-retirement, they're navigating that transition out of a long-term ministry, and others are, one said, I'm learning how to sit in a pew.
Oh.
And deciding maybe to do less than they had in the past and not get involved in anything, at least not right now.
I haven't figured out how to sit in a pew very well yet, and it's been over 6 years. So I get that. I really do. I mean, because like you don't want to go until you can be supportive and not critical and
right.
Those things. Yeah. So that's awesome. So you wrote your first book, right? Was in 2009.
Yeah.
Like where did that come from?
Well, I'll tell you, when I was a little girl, I wanted to write books. So that was a lifelong dream. And I kept thinking, I ought to write a book. I ought to write a book. And I thought, okay, well, I've been writing all these articles. I could print out everything you have, see what you have. It was like 250 pages. Okay, you wrote a book. Just organize it. It was more work than that, more complicated. But it was these many articles that I'd written about, leadership from a systems perspective that became the germ of that book.
And I learned in my first call quite a bit, like in New York State, Jim Kelsey loves systems leadership, and so the Friedman, all of that, I think it's fantastic. I think that it helps so much for you to understand yourself and your congregation when you get why those things irritate us. So yeah, like maybe that one that bothers you the most is the one you're most like, which is sometimes that kind of hurts too.
Yes, but, or maybe they're like your mother.
Yeah. Yes, I think systems is great.
Yeah, well, let me just say a little bit about that, and I do talk about that in the new book about like why. So this is family systems theory came out of the family therapy movement, and people might wonder, well, why use a secular theory to talk about ministry? And what I have found so helpful about it is that, ministry is all about relationships, and those can be complex and confusing and difficult. And, family systems provides a way of thinking about how people relate to each other, the strengths, and when things come up that are difficult, it's a way to understand it. It's been a way to understand myself and the places that I get hooked and stuck, and how to find more freedom. So, it's not a substitute for prayer, for spirituality, for our sense of call, but it's a really useful adjunct to it.
Yeah, I agree. And that follows you through your second and now your new book, as well, right? The family systems theory, because, well, I mean, it just makes sense for those, yeah. So in this new book, your sustainable ministry, how to lead and when to nap. I mean, you talk about the challenges, and I mean, the challenges post COVID. I don't even know where to start. So, what are the biggest challenges you see in clergy right now? And how, let's start there.
Yeah. Well, there are these massive external challenges, which are, the institutional pressures on individual congregations, on denominations, this, kind of more sidelining of the church, increasing secularization. People just don't go. People that go to church tend not to go as often. I don't know all the statistics, but I know from talking to my clients that people, that they used to be there every week. Maybe there are 2 or 3 Sundays. I mean, 2 or 3 Sundays a month, and financial pressures, not to mention high anxiety in our culture, cascading down into congregations. And then there are the internal challenges. Maybe the biggest challenge that clergy feel is I feel responsible for this congregation, for its future. So I better do everything I can to make sure this happens. And, other people want you to take that kind of responsibility as well. So big external challenges, big internal challenges about how do I manage my responsibility? What is my real responsibility as the leader of this congregation, or a leader in it? And that, that's burdensome.
It is. I mean, it's a lot to
it's
go
a lot.
On the, it's a lot. Yeah. But I don't want to give all the book away, because people, folks, read the book. It's definitely worth your time and investment. But there are some places in there where I was like, oh, this was the book I needed when I was serving as a pastor. That makes so much sense. It really does, folks. So I would encourage folks to pick it up. But so as new leader, or as leaders in the world today, I mean, what do you suggest that they do to face those challenges they meet, whatever they may be?
Well, I'll just reiterate what I said at the beginning. Work on your own clarity about yourself. This is it is a bit counterintuitive to focus on yourself. When I was in Sunday school, they taught us Jesus, others, then you. Put yourself last. That spells joy, and I think that spells burnout for ministers. So to be able to, to take the time for yourself, that's why I like the naps. It's not that everybody ought to take a nap, but everybody needs a sense of space around their time. There are these crises that come up, but to be able at some points to say, I'm stopping now, I'm putting the burden down, to have some kind of spiritual life too, where you are sustaining yourself. And the fact that you focus on yourself first does not mean that you ignore others. Yeah, and I really, there's a whole chapter in the book on relationships and how to navigate these tricky, sometimes, relationships with people in the congregation. And one of the things that has come to me is that it's important to spend time with people in your congregation who give you energy. The people who don't give you energy will take a lot of your time and suck your energy. And you can set limits with them. And go find someone that just always makes you feel better after you talk to them. Talk to them.
That reminds me of the book of the Energy Bus. I don't know if you've ever read that.
Oh, I don't know that book.
Yeah, it's a secular book. It's a secular book, but yeah. But it's called the Energy Bus, and it's about who you invite on your bus. You want to invite those people, like you're saying, that give you energy, that give you that are life-giving, and you want to keep those who are, as the book called, energy vampires, maybe not on your bus so much.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you don't always have choices in the congregation as to who is on the bus, and we want to be open, but it doesn't mean you have to let people get away with being the energy vampire. You can set limits. You don't have, I'll just say, you don't have to talk to people as long as they want to talk to you, for example, just because you're a pastor.
Right.
You can say, I have an appointment, even if it's with yourself.
That's a good way to do it. Yeah, I have an appointment. They don't need to know who with, and and we're pastors, not therapists.
Right.
Our MDivs do not cover that. That's really important for people. What advice would you give someone who's entering ministry now?
Well, so this years ago, and I think I told this story in Leaders Who Last. I was on a panel at a seminary, and someone said, "Do you have any advice for us?" I said, "Everything takes 5 years." And my friend Israel Galindo, who was also on the panel, whose books are also worth reading, he said, "I think you're too optimistic." So it just has helped me to say, okay, things don't happen fast at church. Maybe the exception is online services and COVID. Mm-hmm. But it takes time to develop relationships, and if you're serving a church that is 100 years old or 50 years old, it takes more than a year to begin to see shifts. So it's just the slow work of relationship building, getting clear, saying what you think, listening to what other people think, working together to collaborate to see what you might develop together.
I think the hard part for a lot of pastors, at least the ones that I talk to in my role, is they get called to these little churches, and but there's a church down the street that's just growing so fast, and here they are week after week with their same 20 people in the congregation, and there they see that church down the road that is thriving, that can do all the things that they just dream of doing. And I think for those folks, at least those that I talk to, that's the hardest thing for them, is why not my church, and what am I doing wrong, and how do I change that? Yeah.
Right. And I would say you're not doing anything wrong. You have to understand and in a way accept your context. So the small church context, in most cases, it's not going to turn into a mega church. Mm-hmm. So, and you're almost in I talk in the book too about these triangles that we get in relationships, where, and it may be that other people in your church are also looking up the street, and they're looking to you to say, what can you do to grow this church. And I think there is a call, and probably these people probably don't want that call, and I get that. There's a call to hospice ministry. I think it is honorable ministry. And there's also a call to faithful small church ministry, where you say, this is my context. How do I love my people? How do I challenge them to grow a little bit? And maybe put on a few blinders. And from what I hear, the mega churches aren't doing quite so well anymore anyway.
Right.
They have struggles of their own.
Yeah.
And how do you find spiritual and emotional support?
Yeah.
Without putting the burden on yourself to turn this place around.
And I think it comes back to, again, what you say about relationships is that pastor in that small church versus that pastor in that mega church, and the relationships that you're able to have in that small church, even a small, medium, matter so much, and especially at the end of one's life, and what you're able to give a family as that small church pastor, as opposed to that mega church pastor, probably. Like, I can do a great funeral,
right,
because I know everything about them, and when I finally meet the kids that I've never met before, because there was this relationship so I mean, yes, go back to the books and get the new book and read, because really, relationships are that. But it's hard. I think
it is.
It's hard.
Yeah. It is really hard. And I just heard a story recently about a church. Someone in the church told someone in the community, well, now we've got a young pastor, so we're going to get young families. Well, there are no young families in that church. So part of the work is helping people without trying to, force them to face reality, but helping them over time to claim who they are and what their call is, what their current mission is, as who they are, not as something that they're not, or that they used to be, or that they wish they were. That's part of the hard work of ministry, without trying to talk them into anything. It's such a tricky balance where you help them clarify their own mission and purpose without trying to will them to be different than they are.
Yes. That's exactly it.
That's what'll wear you out, is getting willful to people. And then they just dig their heels in, because, that's like with teenagers, you try to get them to do things, then they're pretty good at not doing them.
Yeah, they are. So what's the most important thing for church leaders, in your opinion, for church leaders to pay attention to these days?
Well, I'll just come back to paying attention to yourself, to knowing yourself more deeply, to continuing to continue to develop yourself, to grow emotionally and spiritually, because you are the biggest gift that you bring to your congregation. So the more that you can, be in your own skin, the better for you, and the better for them.
And you think that by leaning into that, paying more attention to ourselves, even though that's counterintuitive to everything that we've ever, been taught, that helps prevent the burnout, which is pretty huge.
Yeah. Yeah, and I guess the other piece of it, this is maybe a corollary, is to just get clear about what you're responsible for and what you're not responsible for. Because I think that burnout comes when you are taking responsibility for what you have no control over, or what is someone else's responsibility. That'll wear you out quicker than almost anything else.
And get a therapist. Like, get a therapist.
Yeah.
Therapists, the pastoral counselors, find people like that. Because, I mean, I'll say from personal experience, like having a person that gets it, that gets what ministry is, and can tell you the truth, in love, it is worth it. Absolutely worth it.
Yeah, and I would say one of the other things I love about the thinking about ministry from a family systems perspective is that most of us who go into ministry were in a pretty responsible position in our family that we grew up in for one reason or another, and to understand those forces that are at work in us that cause us to feel like we're responsible for anything and everything can also be useful over time. I mean, I'm on the lifetime plan myself.
Yeah, me too. So why this book? Why this book? Did you just I want to write another one? Did somebody ask you to write one?
No, I knew I had another. It was a lot of stuff I'd written over the last 10 years.
Yeah.
And again, I thought this is a book. And so I took a writing class, which was really helpful because it created a deadline to actually get started. And then I started getting, really good feedback on the initial chapters, that people said, oh yeah, this is what one person in the writing group said, oh, my husband's a pastor. And that was sort of confirmation that this was, I mean, I don't really say things that are that different. I always say the same stuff over and over, but this is for this new context, this new stage of church, of the life of the church in North America post-COVID, but not just post-COVID, in this polarized arena, in this, again, the institutional, in general, many institutions are in decline in our society. And what do you do with yourself as a leader? How do you keep yourself going over time, to make a difference without taking it all on your own shoulders?
And as somebody who's read the book, and found myself highlighting and things to go back to, it's applicable to people, not just in pulpit ministry, in all types of ministry, in places in your life and things like that you'll find, and you'll go, oh, so I got to take care of me, kind of. I mean, it's not rocket science, but it's the stuff that you need to hear.
It really is. And I think it's not just the technique of self-care. It's a spiritual letting go.
Yeah.
That you have to do. It's like meditation, where you have to come back over and over again. Say, this church's future is not up to me. I have a part to play in it. I have a call to it, and it's going to play itself out. They were here long before me. They'll probably be here. They may or may not be here after me. We don't know in some cases. But we're in partnership, and I'm going to stay in my lane.
And I love, in there, in the one part where you were talking about, there are decisions that need to be made, and you may come up with 20 different answers, and I'm going, or more, okay, so it's okay that you've got that when you're facing that kind of situation, when you're facing situations of a problem, whether it be money, whether it be not having leaders anymore, here are some choices, and it's okay to have a bunch of them and not and not have the answer like immediately. That's okay. Again, I think it's that permission giving that you have this gift of in your writing, or at least that's how I find it. Um, that draws you in. At least that's my opinion. Whatever.
Yeah, well, that's good. I mean, for people who are reading or listening today, I mean, you know your own context, you know your ministry, you know your people, you know you, and you can. I've got some ways of thinking about it that might be helpful to help give you some more ideas, some more options. But each situation is different. Context is so important in ministry, and it's kind of ultra local.
So naps, which is the greatest part of this title, like how to lead and when to nap. So why are naps so important?
Well, it's a way to, for one thing, we are designed biologically to need rest, and a short nap in the afternoon can be a great asset. But it's not for everyone. I think you need naps or nap equivalents. So I know pastors who play different kinds of games or sports, walk in the woods, read fiction, do art, bake bread, something that helps you take you out of yourself and stop the busy brain and gives you a rest. What is truly restful for you?
That's a great question. What is truly restful for you? I don't know. I'll get back to you on that one. Like,
okay.
I mean, I taught myself how to knit. I did that when I was a pastor. Like that was important. Because just getting and television isn't, that doesn't necessarily, but I think the knit was because at the end there is something. I have produced something, and there's that need to craft things. I think, whether they're good or not, they're just I've come away and I've done something.
Yeah, it's done. Yes, unlike church.
Right, because it's never done. So if somebody asked you like why they should read this book, what would you say?
I would say I believe it has at least the potential of helping you gain more clarity about who you are and what you are really to do. It gives some practical tips on how to think about, just some practical things like money and communication.
Yes.
All kinds of relationships, including staff relationships. And I want to say the last chapter is about prayer. And that's not accidental. Because I believe that as some kind of spiritual practice, it's as important as a nap, actually.
Yes.
To be able to keep yourself going. My hope is that you can find a way to sustain yourself in a way that it doesn't, so you're not paying too high a price.
Yes.
For your ministry, a higher price than your people.
Yeah, I agree. And I love the way that you have the book framed, is that you're not designed to just like sit down and plow through the book and read it all in one go. Like, process what you just read and work with that questions at the end of the chapter and sit with it. Don't just go, okay, well, that was nice, moving on. Do a little bit of work, and I agree. I think the thing about your writing is that it's practical, but it's easy to understand. It's not one of those like, oh, I'm gonna have to keep my phone to Google what that word means, because there are people. I'm not going to name names, but there are people that's how you have to roll with their writing.
Yeah.
Is
Yeah, and I've always felt like I wanted to write a book that pastors would actually read, not just think they ought to read.
Yes, and I would say this is it, folks. And we will make sure that we're going to put the links, because you can pre-order, because it's going to be available on July 9th. Ta-da! So, but the joy question, we cannot forget the joy question. So this is the question that I ask everybody. Think about all the things that you do in your life, and what is something that brings you joy?
Well, I have to say that when people read what I wrote and it means something to them, that gives me joy. When I am talking with a pastor and we help together help them figure out what they're really responsible for and what they're not, and it's the not, then they get the look of relief on their face. Oh, that's not all up to me. That gives me joy.
Yeah.
And I'm a singer, so singing also gives me joy.
Yeah. So are you still doing your round table classes? However you call them?
Yeah, so I am still doing the clergy leadership roundtable for active pastors, for denominational leaders, and for people on the verge or just after retirement.
Okay.
So those are monthly groups, some very small groups, ultra small, to help people reflect on their ministry and get some feedback from myself and others on what they're up against.
And so, folks, what Margaret's just explained, which I did a terrible job of explaining, was what I went through 6 years ago, and definitely worth it. So if folks were interested in one of those type classes, how would they reach out? Website?
So yeah, through my website, it's margaretmarcuson.com. And I also do work with quite a number of clergy across denominations doing individual coaching over time.
So we'll make sure that, along with the link for the book, and that we put Margaret's website there. And again, yeah, take the time if you've never had an experience like that, and you're looking for something. I think it would be well worth your time for that experience, just from my own personal experience. So, what else? Anything else we need to know? What am I missing?
Well, I just want to say that I love pastors. Thank you for all that you do, for your commitment, and I hope that you can find space for yourself, find your own joy, and take a nap.
Yeah, take a nap. Yeah. And I'm grateful for you and for your ministry, and that you listened. When that voice, when that calls, says, I'm calling you to do something different, for how your congregation has changed, and because I know that your ministry has changed lives, and it's important. So I'm just so grateful that you listened, that you heard that call, and that you've been doing that for 25 years, and so faithfully. Yeah. And so I hope that folks will take the time to get the book, read the book, Sustainable Ministry: How to Lead and When to Nap. Available everywhere you get your books, but available on pre-order, and July 9th, folks. And thank you so much for doing this, Margaret. I really appreciate it. And
thank you.
It's
a pleasure.
And folks, thanks for watching. Reach out, get connected to Margaret, get the book, and we will see you next time.